helping them, right? So we can know just enough about things maybe to know what questions to ask people. And that's where the learning a little bit about DSM comes into it. And learning a little bit about psychology and all these other things can be helpful in knowing where to take but the bottom line is, if you have rapport with the person, and if they trust you, and if your intention is pure, which I know you all would be, and then you connect with that person, you're gonna know where to take that session. And the things they say in the pre-talk is gonna help you to direct it. So integrating everything that you've all learned before you walked in this room today, and all of what I know are just amazing things you're gonna learn for the rest of the weekend. I'm here till Wednesday, so I'm gonna be soaking a lot up. All of those things will be integrating even better at the unconscious level, because that's where you learn, if you stay in that open frame every time you go in a room, or every time you're even talking to somebody, and stay in that open frame. And that's what's getting me through this now, because I was a little stressed earlier, wasn't I? I don't know what that was about. I hadn't been here in a couple of years, so had some things going on. So stay in that open frame, and your unconscious will learn things that later will come back to you that you didn't even remember consciously learning. You say, oh, that person said that one little sentence that I was talking to in the hall, or that I heard in that seminar. And you'll have the client in front of you, and it'll pop in, because something will trigger it when you stay in that space. So some of you are familiar with Kroger's Clinical and Experimental Hypnosis. You all familiar with that book? You can tell I've had it for a while. Clinical. It's probably one of the most quoted books in medical research papers and things. This book is, yeah, it's Clinical and Experimental Hypnosis. This is second edition. There might be a third or fifth or 10th. I don't know how far it's got. But in here, he talks about that our job is to create a space, a safe space, so to speak. I don't think he used that word, but to create an environment where the person can achieve balance and change, right? So we hold the space with that open frame and let all of the labels kind of sit out there, because they may or may not be accurate, because I think one of the top causes of problems in hospitals is misdiagnoses, right? So you gotta, and I love doctors, don't get me wrong, and I think we have some great medicines. But by the way, does anyone in here have your own personal gastroenterologist? You do? See? Yeah. And I know how to say it now, but the first time I saw it on TV was a few years ago when they started advertising on TV. And I go, oh my gosh, what is that? And I go, I'm supposed to have one of those? And now it's like, they talk about conditioning and hypnosis though. And it's a wonderful thing that we have people like that out there. And yet now, we all know that what you focus on amplifies. That's one of the main principles about hypnosis. You focus on the negative all the time, what's gonna happen? You're gonna be stressed, you're gonna worry, you're gonna have a panic attack, whatever. They come into us, we wanna get their focus on what's possible and what right now can you do to make the next minute and tomorrow and on better. And yet we still need the medications when they're needed. And yet I think, now if you watch TV, I remember a few years ago I looked at my husband, I said, there must be something wrong with me. I'm like in my 60s and I don't have any of those things, And when I turned 65, they send you to the Medicare. I had to go to the doctor then, hadn't been to one in a while. A few years I had a broken toe, I think. And I went to the doctor because they make you get the exam every year, or we'll kick you off the plan if you Medicare. Don't you love it? I had really great insurance before that too, but anyway. So I go in and they said, well, you need to get this and this test and this test and this test and this work and this. And I said, no. And she said, you really should do that. And I said, no, I'm okay. The things I knew I didn't need to do. Did the blood work and all that. But she was talking to me like, and then she says, so what medications are you on? And my husband had the same thing happen to him. He's a few years older than me when he went in. What medications are you on? The assumption is you're on medications if you're 65 years old. That's current. Now, 20, 30 years ago, I'm sorry, that wasn't an assumption that was common. So the only thing that's really changed, and with what we know about hypnosis, is are they helping to cure people and leading them toward health? Or are they helping people to think, oh, I need to look for this and I need to get this test so that I have a problem? There's a lady named Dr. Susan Love. I still remember her name and I haven't seen her, never saw her before or after one seminar in California that I went to early on in my hypnosis practice. It was at a woman's National Association of Women Business Owners, I think at the time. I was between careers. And I went, and she was at the front of the room. There had to be 600 women in this really nice hotel that it was held in. And she had written a book on breast cancer. She had been a breast cancer surgeon for many, many, many years. She was the top lady, right? And she'd written a book. And one of the first things she told the women in the room was, drink your coffee, ladies. And they're all looking at each other. I don't drink coffee anyway, but they were like, you know, because back then they were telling women don't drink coffee because it's not good. I don't know if they still do that. And the next thing she said was that the worst thing, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but this is what she said, and it resonated with me on some level, knowing how the mind works. The worst thing doctors ever did for women was to get them to start once a month checking their breasts for lumps. This is a woman breast cancer doctor saying this. And I thought, looking for lumps, that's the magic words, right? Looking for lumps. So think about how the mind works. There might have been a better way to say that, you know. But doctors, again, they have to talk the way they talk with the way the liability is. So we can help soften some of those things. Our job is not to step on or get anywhere near interfering with what that doctor is doing, or to try to convince the person they can get better, or to tell them they shouldn't be taking medication. None of that. We don't want to touch that. Our scope of practice, though, can help all of those things to integrate with that person in a more positive way. Like, while you're dealing with this, you know, how can you think about this in a way that causes you to feel a little more empowered rather than feeling helpless? Because empowered means their immune system's going to be strong, the medicine's going to work better, they're going to get better sleep, all those things that are going to help that doctor. So integrating hypnosis into any medical or dental practice, and hopefully you're working on yourselves when you have anything going on, right? You all work on yourselves? Yeah. I had the most serious, I've been doing all my dental work with no anesthesia because I took anesthesia hypnosis many years when I first started, actually. And I thought, well, I got to practice on somebody. You know, got to walk the walk. So it took me a couple years to talk myself into it. So I had, I think, a crown put on or something. And it was really cool. I think I actually prepared better that first time than any time since. Last year, I had a bridge put on. A bridge, sound like my grandma. I had a bridge put on the front of my mouth. I had to have two bone grafts because I was losing bone, okay? So I'd never had that before. I didn't know what it involved, but I asked him to explain to me what he's gonna do. And my dentist sent me to a periodontist, and the first one he sent me to, I said, I'm gonna use hypnosis. I had used it for some pretty serious stuff, and I said, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna back off after all these years. And he said, oh, you can't do that. And I said, why not? He says, well, you know, we need to put you under anesthesia because it'll help control the bleeding. Does anybody in here know anything about anesthesia? That's ridiculous. And even I'm inside laughing. So I fired him. I went back to my dentist. I said, send me to someone else. So the second guy he sent me to, I said, I'm going to use hypnosis. I don't want any anesthesia. And he got a big smile on his face. He said, that sounds really cool. So I went to him. And I now have a letter from that periodontist that says, at the top of the letter, it's a letter he sent to my dentist and asked for a copy of it, and he gave it to me. So I show it to my students now. It says, she went through the whole procedure without any anesthesia, blah, 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 and it gave me new faith in, or great faith or something like that, in hypnosis and my blood pressure. And I swear, the first thing he said after he was done was, I gotta go check my blood pressure. And he ran out of the room, and I'm there with the girl going, what happened? She says, I think he's a little stressed. So there you go. So our mind is so powerful. Our mind is so powerful. So integrative medicine, now I would never try to talk someone into doing dental work without anesthesia. If you're a hypnotist, I would encourage you to do it because you know how. But guess what we can do for dentists? We can help those people that they have that don't even show up. They're so stressed out about going to the dentist. Or help them to calm down a little bit so that it's easier for them to work on them. We can do all those things. And I make little recordings for people, and they have the little earbuds that they can wear in the dentist office, just loud enough to keep them in that state. And if the dentist says turn your head, they can still hear it, they can still hear the dentist. And we know we can be in that state with our eyes open and be very aware, because hypnosis is about awareness. What's important and what isn't. The dog starts barking outside, it's not important. Your mind will learn very quickly to tune that out. And by the way, that's when I said go into your little world and filter out. Go and educate the medical community. I think that's our responsibility. Educate the medical community on how we can help them make their life easier. Exactly. Yeah, she's saying that she's a nurse, so it gives it more credibility. It's that assumption of credibility. Yeah. And when I first started, I needed lots of certificates behind me just to give me the confidence to work with clients. I don't know about you guys, but I had like 3 right away, and I go, okay, now I feel like I got some credibility, But yes, and also I'm a lifetime student too, and always learning more. I've learned from just about everybody that's at this conference and other conferences, and even the same people over time, hopefully evolve a little, or a lot, and grow. You've been to some of my trainings, so they change all the time, right? Yeah, it's not required to be certified, just like you don't have to be certified in hypnosis to do hypnosis in most places. But you know what? It's kind of a nice idea to have some credibility. And I encourage you to go to Kiwanis clubs and Lions clubs and Rotary clubs. That's where the doctors hang out. They do that. And if you go there and just do a little 10, 20-minute talk, whatever they let you do, and just touch on some of the highlights, people are fascinated as soon as they start hearing what you can do, because they think hypnotist, they're thinking stage show. I think I just ran out of time, didn't I? So quickie, just go inside, step out of yourself a little bit, stay in that peripheral this weekend, and integrate. Let everybody, you know what, even the person that you don't think has anything to offer, if you stay in that state, I guarantee, I call them, when I used to go to conferences, I would call them little nuggets. I'd walk in and say, oh, I'm not gonna get any, and then I'd say, nope, and I'd go like that, and I'd walk out and I'd have something. Because it's about your intention, just like your client. If they trust you and believe in you, they will walk out with something positive. Because that's what hypnosis is, positive expectation, right? We create our own reality. The meaning is what we put on it. So, yeah. So enjoy your weekend. Thank you all. You're so sweet. You were all so nice to me. I lost my nerves right away. I used to be in show business. Why I get nervous, I don't know. Thank you.